Greetings everyone, it's time for a video. This video, short one, kind of a quick tip. That's about potentially a solution to what we call a loose universal adapter, socket adapter like this right here. So this is a Hazet 920 universal adapter, a 1/2-inch drive. I picked it up off of eBay some time ago. It was listed as a new open box from a seller in Germany. I think I ended up paying, it was 20 bucks and that included shipping, which is a pretty good deal. These new, like even in here in the United States from sellers, are anywhere like $50, $60. They're not cheap. And I got it. You know, it's always kind of a gamble if you buy something off eBay. But it's certainly not been used, and probably the reason why is it's loose. So this universal joint has two areas that it rotates in. It rotates this way, and then the other way is it rotates like this. And you use it in cases where if you say you're trying to get to a bolt or a nut or something, and maybe there's an obstruction and you need to come in and like at an angle, like say like this, you can come in with a universal adapter like this and loosen something up. So now that is just because this is loose, and what I mean by loose is like I said, I can flop it around, and that's not really what you want. You want one tight, like this Craftsman, for example, which I have, which is, you can tell it's tight. It doesn't, it moves, but it'll hold its position. And in this case, this one, the top half is, and let me hold this down here at the bottom, top half works great, all right? It'll hold its position fine, but this other part is loose. Now, you know, I've dug around and did some reading. There's a couple of solutions out there that have been mentioned. One of the more common ones is to take and wrap electrical tape or some other kind of tape around this, and I've seen that, and that's certainly a valid approach in a pinch if you want to go and use one of these and it's loose and you need to tighten it up. But you need it. Honestly, that's just temporary. Not to slight that approach, but I wanted something a little different. Another one I saw, which was kind of an interesting idea, which basically a person went and dribbled some, he kind of poured some blue Loctite in there, got it in the joint, let it dry, and then it tightened up, and it was a pretty interesting solution. But again, you know, and he had a good point. He says this thing will just tighten back up. Once it gets loose, you can tighten it back up by using some more. So that was another thought. In this case, this one you can screw it and unscrew it. You know, they have others. The other style is like it's a pin, right? You can see here there's a pin, and there's a pin driven through. And because of that, these are a lot harder to do any maintenance on. So Hazet, and there are other manufacturers that have them, but this is a Torx screw, and you can loosen it or tighten it up. Now the problem is with this one, it's already pretty tight, and I'd be pretty concerned trying to tighten it up anymore. And quite frankly, the gap is pretty large, so I don't really think that's an approach that would work. So I was thinking some, and I realized as well, if I had like a thin washer or a shim of some sort, I could probably put that in there and try tightening it up. So what I did, I really couldn't find any washers that were thin, that were flat, but I had these wavy washers picked up for another purpose, and they ended up, they're pretty fine. So I found one that's pretty small. I tried putting it in with it just as it is, you know, with a wavy spring style, but I really couldn't get it to insert. And I've already fixed this and done it, and I've put it back so you could see this. And I'm not going to show you all of it, but what I ended up doing to make it a little flatter was, but still, it's thick enough to provide enough resistance when I put it in there. I took a hammer and I tapped it flat and got it a little flatter so it would slide in a little easier. And then what I did was, though this has already been loosened up, but I pulled the screw from the joint, and it already, as you can see, it already comes with kind of a little spring that fits in this little indentation that has been machined in the joint. So this provides some resistance, but it's not enough. And what I realized was you have to put in or an attempt at least to put this in. So if I can get this right, I have problems doing this. what I usually do is get it in there and then use, oh, it slipped out and it's kind of fussy. I may have to do this off camera and then show you the results on how it tightens it up, but it does work. Usually what I do is I get this in here and then I use this kind of, this is an awl, I use it kind of like a, kind of like an alignment pin, I guess, if you will. Get it to hopefully pull in. See if I got it in there or not. Yeah, it's in there, good. And then once you get it in, you can screw it in, assuming I've got that in. Oh, no, it's popped out. This is part of it. It's kind of fussy to do it, especially when I'm on camera. But if you get it, there. Then you can get it in, screw it back in place, and I'm going to take it over to my vise. There it is. It's kind of hard to get back on. And then I'll tighten it up. But even with it, just me tightening it by hand, you can see that puts plenty of, provides enough pressure on it to keep it to where now it'll stay in place, but it's still smooth. It still moves just fine. So that just gives you a rough idea on how this works. And this is real simple. I mean, this isn't a hard fix to do. Now the problem is, I mean, in theory, yeah, this is real easy to do with ones that have screws, and many of them don't. They have the pins. Now in theory, you could knock the pin out and try this, but it would be kind of difficult, honestly. But it's certainly worth a shot. That said, with this one, and with any other adapters, this approach will work. So I'm going to pause momentarily, and I'll bring you right back once I tighten this thing up completely, because it's still, there's still a little bit more room to tighten it up to the proper tightness. All right, I've tightened it up completely, and like I said, as you can see, it still moves just fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, you could always loosen it up a little bit or something like that if you got a little too much. But as you can tell, there is in here is where this washer, I put it at, but you can't even really see it unless you get it really close and get the light just right. So on top of that, I mean, like I said, it's not even going to have any interference, and you can't even see it, but it works extremely well. And I have to say, I'm really pleased with this. This fix is, I mean, it's great, and you know, it's really just putting out some effort and finding. I mean, you know, you could probably make your own shims or find some other type of washer that would work, but this just conveniently happened to work for me. I think that was an M3. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. I'm not exact sure in the size, and you probably have to mess with it. And this is an assortment anyway, which has a number of different sizes. So anyway, that's it for this one. If you have something like this, it's certainly worth a shot. If you can do this, I'd advise giving it a shot to see what happens. And anyway, hope you enjoyed this. Just remember, the quest is the quest. Thanks for watching.